Now, currently, my favorite deck of cards is right here, the Z deck, and I cannot wait to show it to you. So if you are excited about seeing my favorite deck of playing cards, which I've given away on the channel already because it's literally my favorite deck of cards, you are in the right place. So subscribe and ring the bell if you want to be notified when every single time I put up a deck review, which is every single week. Seriously, you're in the right place. So let's get into this deck review of my favorite deck of cards right now. And before I get into the actual review, just know that this deck is 10% off in the description below if you're willing to check it out. So, first of all, the tuck box. You're going to see a Z right here because of December Boys, who is the founders and creators of the Z deck. Done in a black matte stock right here. It feels super cool. Right here on one side it says December Boys and the other side says Z deck. The bottom is just some December Boys ad copy. The back design right here is going to actually be the back design. It is a little bit dinged up because I did get it used. And then you have the December Boys right here saying December Boys with a little bit of a holographic seal, a little bit of a silver foil on a blue seal, nothing on top. Then on the inside of the tuck box, just being all done in black, nothing extra or crazy. So besides that, take a look at the cards. The number cards, first of all, they're all bicycle standard except for the fact that the reds are now a little bit more of an orange or a salmon color. But besides that, everything is completely bicycle standard. The quartz, which are freaking dope, have the bicycle standard everything except for you've taken part of the back design and wove it into the clothes. And then everything is done in black and white except for the pips, indices, and values. So when you're going through black cards, it's going to be all in black and white. Then when you get to red cards, or almost like peachish colors, then you get the pip, indice, and value all in that same pinkish color. Besides that, everything is standard and gorgeous looking. Then you have your 4 aces, first of which being the ace of clubs, ace of diamonds, ace of hearts, and ace of spades. And I do think it's really cool that this time you actually have 2 power aces, both being the inside of the back design and the black ones, which fits for this deck. Now, I said that it's the inside of the back design. Now, I'm going to show you the back design in 1 second, but first, I have to show you these 4 ad cards. Yes, 4, let me grab the 4th one, green ad cards. Now, why do you have 4 double back or green ad cards? It's because this is something you can use for editing your cardistry videos. This is a cardistry deck, obviously. You'll understand that more in a second when I show you the back design. But seriously, if you're wanting really cool things to do, if you want to use a green screen, this is what you can use as your green screen as your playing cards. And they're working on like a whole deck with just green screen stuff, which I cannot wait to see. But for now, 4 cards that come with it. I mean, technically you could just buy like freaking 30 decks and then have a whole deck of these, but you know, I guess that's just up to you. Then last but not least, we have the back design of this deck, and it is seriously my favorite cardistry back design, maybe just back design in general. It's so gorgeous. So right here is the back design, borderless back design done in white and black, and I love how these lines here don't just go straight across, but sometimes they're angled like this here, which means when you're fanning it, is going to do things like that. Fanning this deck is honestly just a pleasure of mine. I feel almost honored to fan this deck. So it definitely fans better when it's fanned the normal way instead of with your opposite hand. Lefties, I'm sorry, but it just isn't going to be as beautiful for you. It just, like, it still looks cool, but it just isn't as cool, personally. So, 2 one-hand fans, absolutely gorgeous. Love the way this deck looks. I mean, seriously, just seriously. How about under pressure? Ready? Come on now. Come on. This deck is just gorgeous. This deck is gorgeous. So, besides all of that, can this deck Pharaoh? What's it feel like? Should you buy it? Those are the questions you want to know, and that's why I'm here. So, of course, from bottom to top, this deck literally just Pharaoh'd every other. So you will not be disappointed with how it Pharaohs that way. And then from top to bottom, it also Pharaohs every other. So no problems with how this deck Pharaohs. How does this deck feel in your hands, right? If you have a gorgeous design, but it Pharaohs and handles crappily, then you won't want this deck, right? So how does the deck feel? Well, it's air cushion finish, which means it's going to spread beautifully, and you'll be able to do things where cards are together, and it's not smooth finish, which is, right? handles fantastically when it comes to the finish because it's USPCC, and USPCC prints the best cards. Now, besides that, the stock and how it feels. First, you have the thickness. You have thin, middle of the line, and thick. Or you could just say classic or premium stock, and then if it's crushed or not. So this is a middle of the line, aka classic stock, but then actually goes a little bit into the thin side because it is a crushed classic stock. It is a little bit of a thinner deck. So I actually really like how this thing turned out. It is a gorgeous feeling, gorgeous sounding. I mean, are you serious? Listen to this. That just sounds like heaven. This thing sounds like heaven. It handles like heaven. Feels like heaven. Speaking of feels, how does it feel, right? How does it feel? Well, there's 4 ways of me showing you. There's buttery, which is something you can use under pressure for. The more easily you can do under pressure, the more buttery it is. There's middle of the line, which is just your standard USPCC bicycle deck. There is snappy or crispy, which I like, just sounds like bacon, but it's because you can do things where it's like hot shot or something where it has to snap a little bit easier. And if you can't do that super easy and it's too flimsy, then it's probably not very snappy. Then you have stiff, where you can hardly move it. Those are your 4 categories, and this one fits easily into snappy and buttery, but definitely more into buttery. Like, if I can only choose one, it'd easily be buttery, because this deck just folds like that. You do get a little bit of warping, but seriously, you can just go like that, and you're back to new. So it handles beautifully. There's no problems with how it handles. It's definitely a thinner deck, though. So if you use it a ton, or if you put it out in the heat or humidity at all, it's definitely going to get messed up. So it's not going to have like a crazy long shelf life for you if you're going to be using this deck a lot, because it is thin and a more buttery deck. So it's just going to be a lot easier to do that stuff with, right? So besides that, should you buy this deck? Well, I think it depends on who you are. I kind of do. It's also just my favorite deck, so I just recommend anyone to buy it for 10% off. And you're literally saving money on the best deck that I have. So, besides that, let's say you're a magician. Right? You could. It's not really a magic deck. It's not what it's intended for, right? The back design is not intended for magic. The faces aren't intended for magic. There's no reveals. There's no duplicate cards. It's not in a stack. It's not intended for that. So magicians is probably not where I'd go. Especially if you're doing like table magic, this isn't your thing. If you're a cardist and you don't pick this deck up, you are missing out on so much. Not only because this bag design is gorgeous, not only because it handles one of the most beautiful handling decks that I have, but like, you literally get 4 double backer green screens to use in your cardistry videos. If you don't just want it for that, you're insane. So seriously, gorgeous deck is going to be able to handle beautifully. If you're a cardist, pick this deck up. If you're a collector, number 1, it's going to look great on a shelf like that. Number 2, it has some of my favorite court cards. Number 3, it has one of my coolest back designs out of my entire collection. Number 4, it's a black and white design, and for me, I love black and white stuff. So if you like black and white, that's also freaking dope. If you like December Boys, because they're coming out with their V2s, well, I'm not sure when this deck review is actually coming out, because I'm just like pre-making a bunch of videos, but I don't know if their actual V2s have already come out. They're like retro edition, which truth be told I'm not as big of a fan of, but I really like this deck. It's literally my number 1, and I don't even think I'm going to pick up the other one. So sometimes you have a V1 and a V2, which are so crazily different, or like Chris Ramsey's, his V1 and V2 are the same basically, and then his V3s were off the wall, and his V4s were really crazy. So seriously, absolutely love this deck. If you're a collector, we've already said that one. Playing card games, probably not the thing for you. I mean, the faces are all basically standard when it comes to actually recognize it, since it's all from like USPCC based. And you can play card games with it, but I sure as heck wouldn't, because I'm not giving the chance of anyone using this deck the wrong way or in ruining my deck of Z deck. It's just not gonna happen. No one is ruining this deck for me. And then, is this a hype deck? Heck freaking no. I love this deck of cards. I love this deck of cards. It is my number 1 deck. I will show you where I literally put it. Ready? Watch this. It goes right there. It is literally the spot that I have for my number 1 deck. That's literally, I have it in an order, and that's literally why I have it there, right? It's my number 1 deck of cards. Besides Descendants playing cards when they come out, but, you know. Oh, what a day that will be. Plus, if you want to follow Descendants playing cards, I'll leave them in the description below. So, again, if you want to pick up this deck, it's 10% off. It's a gorgeous deck. And if you do pick it up, let me know. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching this deck review of the Z deck. I love this deck of cards. I can't tell you enough. So, please make sure to stick around for the channel. If you would have been here a little while ago, you could have been entered for a chance to win this deck for free, but, you know, you live and you learn. I'll catch you guys in the next one. This is Card Perfect, signing off.